again, being from Detroit, at 5 o'clock, you're supposed to hear mixes. And that's just not something that they were doing in Buffalo at the time. And same thing in Rochester. There was not a dedicated mix show when I first got here. So I said, no, we have to change this because I remember one time it was 5 o'clock and they were playing Luther Vandross Dance with My Father. And I said, nah, this is not what we want to hear at 5 o'clock when I'm stuck in traffic. So just really not being afraid to just innovate. And if you know something works, just to share that information and not being afraid to be the first person to do it.
Being a part of the National Association of Black Journalists, I've had the honor and pleasure of connecting with so many people. Today's guest is a phenomenal radio host, a phenomenal podcast producer, and she helps people get casted. Yes, she helps people get casted and change their lives. Ladies and gentlemen, today I welcome on the one and only Miss Jazzy T. And she's a very accomplished person from the great city of Detroit, Michigan. We talked about her career when she talks about going to Michigan State, then going to LA, coming back home, and then ultimately ending up in upstate New York. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is my conversation with the one and only Miss Jazzy T. All right, ladies and gentlemen, on the line today, I have one of the best radio hosts in the world. She won't say it because she's humble, but I'm not when it comes to my friends and family. I have the one and only Miss Jazzy T. Jazzy, what's going on?
Hey, what up, though?
How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. How are you?
I'm good. It's a new week as we, sit here and record. So the new week is a new opportunity. But I'm really excited to have you on. It's been a long time coming. When I first set out to do this podcast, I always tell I had a list of people and you was on that list. So I'm happy to finally be able to have you on.
Oh, well, I'm honored. Thank you so much. I've been working so hard producing other people's podcasts, OPP, you know me, but to actually be interviewed by somebody is a new experience for me, not just on podcasts, but in general. I'm usually the interviewer.
Oh, okay. So that lets me know I got to bring my A game.
I'm watching you.
I see. So let's get right into it. You graduated from Michigan State University. What led you to Michigan State?
Michigan State is only an hour away from my hometown of Detroit. I did do a West Coast tour. I was looking at UNLV and Arizona State, but actually doing a tour at ASU, I had a heat stroke. Because I went in the summer and it was about 114 degrees walking around that campus. And I said, nah. And add to the fact where Arizona State, I would still be paying out of pocket. Michigan State, I had a full ride. So I said, well, you know what? I'll just go ahead and rep that Sparty green.
Now, did you grow up a Michigan State sports fan?
No, not really. Honestly, a lot of people in my family were, all about the Michigan Wolverines, and Michigan football was really big at the time. But I don't know. There's just something about Michigan that didn't run me the right way. And so I just looked at Michigan State. They have a great advertising program. Telecommunications is the field that I went into. And I was just really blessed there because in my freshman year, I got an internship at the local radio station, Power 96.5. And within 4 months of my internship, I actually had my own show, which was on Saturday nights from 6 to 10. So that was amazing, going to school, learning about broadcasting, but then at night, actually broadcasting for the entire city.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm, being from Baltimore, we obviously we have like the University of Maryland that's like really huge here, but from a sports perspective, watching college sports, you always see like Michigan State and University of Michigan in the news and everything. So I'm always interested when I do meet people from that area, like which side of the coin do they fall on?
Yeah, I mean, Big Ten is basically all I knew about college sports in general. It's just I thought every college was a Big Ten, and if you weren't in a Big Ten, you must not have had a sports team. To me, that's all there literally was. And then now living in upstate New York, I'm learning about other conferences as well. Thankfully, we're not too far away from Syracuse, which is in the Big Ten as well. So I still feel a little bit close to home with that. But yeah, Michigan State is something that my husband is really big on. He actually worked for Tom Izzo and Nick Saban, and so we still have a really close connection. And there's a lot of alumni in the Spartan field all over the country doing big things, from Jamil Hill, to her boy Wood, or all the way down to obviously your Magic Johnsons and things like that. But even when I lived in Hollywood, my first job I got because the owner of the company is a Spartan.
That's amazing. And, I gotta give a shout out to Rika and Omar, two of your fellow Spartan fam who was on the podcast. So, y'all some great people, I have to say.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man.
Now, you worked at ESPN as a assistant production coordinator. This was while you was in college, right? Or right afterwards?
That's right. Yep, that's right. So I had a really awesome teacher for documentary filmmaking, and she just let us know, to let everyone in the class know, hey, ESPN is coming in town to do a game day, and they're looking for some people to help them out. And comes to find out, I was the only student that actually sent the email. So not only was I a production assistant, I was actually the lead PA. So I would start working a week before game day, just setting up everything, making sure they had their mobile offices, making sure there was a printer nearby. I set up craft services, and then I ended up hiring the other PAs. So I put my people from Detroit on. So I had all my girls rolling up to East Lansing, and it was fairly simple. All they had to do was put up the ESPN signs and just make sure the wires weren't getting tangled, and running battery packs to the photographers and the audio people. And it was just really cool. On game day, I kind of got the chance to just sit back in the truck outside and really monitor the editors. Like, I was so amazed at the real-time editing that happens with sports, because in school you take 2 weeks to edit a project. They're doing it literally before commercial break, and that's just something that really inspired me, on the post-production side. It ultimately led me, when I moved to Hollywood 2 weeks after graduation, to continue with that post-production.
Yeah. Now, how was that when you went to Hollywood?
So I always, like Pac says, to live and die in LA. It's the place to be. You got to see it to know why everybody want to be in LA. So I always loved California. I actually graduated in December. And so by January, I was living out in LA. And as I mentioned before, there's a post-production house at the time called Craig Murray Productions. Now it's called Motion. And they focus on theatrical trailers. So at the time, the big clients were Disney, Buena Vista, and 20th Century Fox. So I came in working on the campaign for Chicken Little. They had just wrapped up The Incredibles, and then we started working on the first Cars movie, actually. So that tells you how long ago that was. I know you got kids. You've probably seen that a couple of times. And it just really showed me the power of long form marketing, because theatrical trailers are typically 2.5 to 3 minutes long, so you get to put a little bit more copy, a little bit more fun than we have been doing in radio, because I do radio commercial production as well, but you got 30 to 60 seconds. But it's such a special process working with people like Disney, like Bob Iger, for instance. There was no such thing as just, oh, send him an email to see if he likes it. No, you had to output a 3/4-inch tape, literally walk it to his office and hand it directly to him, wait for him to watch it, and then walk it back, because it's such a protected field when it comes to Disney content. They don't want anything going out. And best believe there's code names for everything, or as they say in Hollywood, working titles. So, for instance, Chicken Little, the code name was Big Bird, so everything was coded, everything was guarded, safe to the chest. And it was just a really awesome experience to be around just people at the top of their game, in post production and also in advertising.
Are you planning a huge celebration and perhaps you need some balloons to make your event look nice? Well, I have the perfect place for you, and a Symphony of Balloons. Symphony of Balloons will do all events, including baby showers, weddings, birthday parties, or that special anniversary. Contact them today at 410-802-1531 or email them at symphonyofballoons@gmail.com and tell them Brian H. Waters sent you. Now, how did being on the post production behind the scenes really help prepare you to be in front of the camera and on the boards as a on air talent?
Right. So I had already been on the boards and on air talent for 4 years throughout my time at Michigan State. And so when I started doing post production, it was actually very, very helpful because you learn things that help the editor so that you don't get left on the cutting room floor. So eventually I evolved into wanting to be in front of the camera while I was in Hollywood, and I started doing background work. And so I understood as an editor, if you give the editor a nice wipe or a nice cross, like you cross your scene, that's a great way for them to transition into the next scene, and they'll most likely will keep you. So that's just one example. And then going forward into my career, being on the camera as a main focal point, you just learn things about, framing and just keeping yourself in a nice frame, realizing that if you're doing something with your hands, but yet it's by your waist, nobody's going to see that. So you have to bring all the action up to where the framing is. And that's all stuff that you see in post production. And also just kind of getting to the point, talking in sound bites is very, very useful, whether you're in live broadcasting, whether you're doing some sort of reality show, or you're doing hosting a TV show or a game show. People like stuff that rhymes. People like stuff that's really just to the point that they can just grab and keep in their memory bank. When you go on a long tangent, it tends to get lost. And we know that in editing, because editing podcasts, as I am doing now, sometimes my hosts, they kind of go, and I'm just like, can you get to the point? And then sometimes I'll have to literally chop their sentences from the beginning. I cut the whole middle and get to the end just so we can get it to a shorter time span.
Wow. Yeah, because that's the thing. I listen to, us being a part of NABJ, we hear a lot of people say, I want to be on air. I want to be on air, which is fine. I'm all for helping anybody get to where they want to. But I always ask them, have you did work behind the scenes? And that's one of the things I'm glad you was able to come on and share that information on how being behind the scenes is helpful to help make you a phenomenal on air talent.
Exactly. Because you're helping everybody out, even if you're lucky enough to be an on-air talent with a producer, or with an editor. You still want to give it your absolute best on the first try. And that's what a lot of my clients, when I'm doing commercials or I'm a brand ambassador for an auto and a beauty company, they love about me, because we can go out and do a shoot for social media. They'll give me a script and I get it on one take. We don't have to keep, wasting time and wasting film, as it were, back in the day, but, wasting storage on your phone, trying to do 5, 6 takes when you can just get it, like, one take.
Yeah. Now, can you talk about what it was like to go back home? You went back home to Detroit for iHeartRadio. What was it like to be back home?
You've done your homework. Look at you.
Well,
Look at you. Okay, so how the story goes, I was in California, and it's very expensive to live in California, and you have to have a roommate. That's just how it is. And so my roommate pulled one on me. I was in Arizona for the weekend, and I remember he called me and said, hey, how's everything going, Arizona? I was like, okay, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, when are you gonna be back? Oh, I'll be back in a couple of days. He was like, okay, have a great trip. I come home. This dude, nothing romantic between me and him. It was strictly a business relationship. This dude moved everything out of the apartment. It was just gone. So I'm
Wow.
like, what the hell am I gonna do now? Mind you, he brought in all his furniture and stuff. He's actually from Detroit as well. So he came in a moving truck. I came on a plane. So I didn't have furniture. I didn't have silverware. Like he didn't have a television. He up and left. So I was scrambling trying to find another roommate. And just nothing was working out. I couldn't get anybody that wanted to live in Koreatown where I was at. I couldn't find anywhere else to go. So I said, you know what? Maybe it's meant for me to go home. So if you know the law of attraction and you know the secret, you know, the universe will start giving you signs. So I remember late at night, I was listening to FM 98 WJLB, and my girl Sunshine was hosting the Quiet Storm. And I said, let me call up there and just, you know, say hi to her, whatever. And she's like, hey, Jazzy, if you were coming back to Detroit anytime soon, I'm actually getting ready to go to DC, and I know they're looking for another person. And WJLB is the heritage station of Detroit. That's literally what I grew up on, from 97.9 to, you know, Detroit's hip hop and R&B to like all the brand changes. I've been rocking with them from the very, very beginning. And so I was able to send a tape over thanks to my connection with Sunshine and KJ Holiday, the program director at the time. He loved my tape and he said, hey, you know, I would definitely love to work with you. Next thing you know, I said, you know what, this LA thing isn't working out, let me go on home. And boom, I was on WJOB, and it was an absolute blessing to work with people like the Bushman, who I grew up with, and Sharon and Big Dog Blast and Spin Dr. Kim James. These are people I idolize. And even Frankie Darcell, she works at Mix 92.3 even still today, on top of all her syndicated shows. But it was such a blessing to be in that building because they owned not only WJLB but Mix 92.3 as well. And when Frankie Darcell would have to go on vacation, or she had a sick day or whatever it was, typically she would get one of the local celebrities like Dwelle or Kim or somebody that's high profile music industry from Detroit to come and literally celebrity guest host her show. But she gave me that opportunity to sit in that chair. And I believe I was the only just a little old me radio personality that had a chance to sit in for Frankie Darcell, not only on the air, but at her live events for Old School Sundays as well.
Wow. It's one of the things that I'm taking away from this conversation is you always ready. And could you
Oh, always ready.
yeah, and I know that's not nothing that you really can't teach that, right? It's one of those things you either have it or you don't. But when did you realize that you always kind of had to be on alert because things could change in this industry? Like, do you remember a moment where you realized like you always got to be, you know how they say, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Do you remember a moment
Right.
when that happened?
Um, I can give you an example, and this is going to introduce you to another part of my career, my repertoire. I actually started a casting company, JR Galactic Casting, when I came back to Michigan. In addition to working on the radio, I had all this experience working in LA. We didn't talk about it much, but in addition to doing background work, I ended up doing more production work and casting assistant. So when the Michigan Film Incentive turned into 42%, which was the highest in the nation. There was so many productions that wanted to come into town, but there wasn't a lot of people in Michigan that were ready to support these productions. So my husband and I, we created JR Galactic Casting with his background in recruiting and staffing. So we said, hey, we're going to create a database and have a casting company. So fast forward, we're working on a movie called Touchback, which was all about football, high school football games. And originally the setup was we'll have about 500 paid extras and we'll do 1,000 unpaid extras, just going off the hype of, hey, I want to be in a movie. We'll give them some pizza and things like that. But after the second night, the free people weren't coming. They weren't as committed. So I remember that the director called me, or told me we were still on set because it was night shoots. He told me about 9:30 at night, hey, Jazzy, I'm going to need 1,000 paid extras for tomorrow. So paid means payroll. Paid means specific clothing. Paid means, featured close-ups. They have to have certain looks. And I'm in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which was 2 hours away from my home base. And so I said, all right, boom, gotta be ready. I went outside. There was a news truck that was just kind of getting some shots of the scene and everything of hey, there's a movie filming here and things like that. And I said, are you ready for the biggest story of the night? And she was like, okay. And I was like, boom, I need 1,000 extras and I'm going to be paying them $80, to come and be in this film tomorrow. Go to my website. So if I didn't have my website up, if I didn't have a portal where people could sign up, submit pictures, submit their payment, because it was a $10 payment now to get into the casting, the database, then we would have just been out of luck. I would have been walking around, hey, you want to be in a movie? Hey, do you want to be in a movie? No, you use the TV, you use the radio, you use the internet. And we all night long, we did not go to sleep. But I tell you, I woke up in the morning, I was $10,000 richer. And we had all of our people. You could sleep when you're dead. I had all of my people. It worked out smoothly. Everybody was very happy. And this is, Brian, this is 2010 when we did Touchback. So here we are 11 years later, and people still hit me up on Facebook just thanking me for creating those memories for them and their family. And this is something that has launched acting careers for many of our extras. Some have went on to Atlanta, others have went to Chicago, others actually moved to LA, others have become TikTok stars. And is a lot based upon the workshop. We had a Be in a Movie workshop where we created to teach people just the basics, like how to get the most FaceTime, how not to get left on the cutting room floor, how to get these castings, and, don't accept something that you're not available for. And just little tidbits like that really catapulted some people's career. And I just feel so blessed to be a part of that.
And that's one of the things that I want to celebrate you today. One of the things that I've noticed, so like we're in, quite a few of the same group chats on social medias, through NABJ and
Mm-hmm.
media groups. And one of the things I noticed, like during the pandemic, towards the end, well, I guess it's not the end, but right before Christmas, Clubhouse became a big deal. And I've seen you
Mm-hmm.
on there, and I've had a chance to kind of tune into some of the sessions, but I've really seen you giving back and help prepare the next generation. And a lot of people say, if you need something, I got you. But a lot of people don't mean it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's free information essentially you giving them. So that's one of the things I want the audience to know is like how great of a resource you've been to people. I've learned a lot from you, whether it's watching your reels or watching your content, so that's one of the things that I just want to give you your flowers right now.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. I want to take a quick minute to talk about mental health. As you all know, we are living in unprecedented times, whether it's the racial pandemic or the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, I want to introduce you to Hope Again Counseling Services, where transformation begins. Hope Again provides help for children, adolescents, adults, family, and couples. So give them a call at 410-698-8442 or visit them on the web at yourhopeagain.com to book your appointment. If you are willing to believe, you will begin to achieve, and ultimately, Hope Again Counseling Services can help you receive all that is meant for you. Now, I know we get ready, as we get ready to wrap up, but one of the things I want to talk about was, you leaving home to go to upstate New York. Now, during the football season, we we was on the opposite ends because you was rooting for the Bills and they defeated my Ravens in the playoffs, and it was once again on a Saturday night in January. The city of Baltimore was disappointed, but it goes with you being in upstate New York. So what was that transition like? You going from, home can be comfortable, you know what I mean? And then you going to upstate New York and obviously having success, but can you talk about that transition?
Sure. I had never been to Rochester, never been to New York. To Buffalo, Niagara Falls. So when I thought of New York, I'm thinking New York City.
Hmm.
So I definitely had some adjustment when I got here. It's a lot more like Michigan than it is New York City. And I have to remind people that all of the time, except for it's smaller. So one thing I had to realize is, being from Detroit, if you hear, let's just pick anybody, Bruno Mars, Beyonce, Usher, if you hear that they're going on tour, living in Detroit, you know that they're going to come to a theater near you. When you live in Buffalo and you live in Rochester, you're not that lucky. They may come somewhere within 2 hours, but they're not necessarily going to come to your actual city. So that was different. The club nights were different. In Detroit, we have club nights Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. Every single day there's a club night. But here you kind of gotta wait for it. So it's a bit slower. I'll definitely say it's slower. But at the same time, there's a lot of opportunity for go-getters and people who stay ready. And if you want to create something, you pretty much have carte blanche to create it because a lot of people are kind of like, in a limited mindset where they've never seen anybody do a certain thing, so they don't know that they can do it. That's one of my favorite things about being from Detroit is like we're complete go-getters, we're complete hustlers. We just do it. We don't wait for anybody to give us a blueprint. You just go. If you fail, oh well, at least you learned something. um, but it was my first time having a full-time on-air position. I hosted afternoons for 93.7 WBOK, really innovated their drive time show with the Jazzy Drive at 5, which is a mix show. Again, being from Detroit, it's 5 o'clock, you're supposed to hear mixes. And that's just not something that they were doing in Buffalo at the time. And same thing in Rochester. There was not a dedicated mix show when I first got here. So I said, no, we have to change this because I remember one time it was 5 o'clock and they were playing Luther Vandross Dance with My Father. And I said, nah, this is not what we want to hear at 5 o'clock when I'm stuck in traffic. So just really not being afraid to just innovate. And if you know something works, just to share that information and not being afraid to be the first person to do it.
Yeah, and that's key right there. Especially being an expert. Like you said, if you know it, don't be afraid. Um, so that's I'm glad you said that because that's what I think a lot of times with younger people they have these ideas, but they kind of scared. Because you always hear don't be married to your ideas, but they can sometimes be hesitant to kind of push what they know could work.
Yep, exactly. And so another thing, while I was in Buffalo, we actually launched at Juneteenth, which is the second largest Juneteenth festival in the country. Actually, is in Buffalo. And so I linked up with the artist that I worked with in Detroit. His name is DJ Maestro, and he's known as the line dance man or the hustle man. And so in Detroit, you might know of Detroit ballroom dancing, and we're really known for our line dances. And so I created something called Hustle for Health, which literally takes the popular line dances that you would do at the barbecue or at the club, and I put an extra little fitness twist to it so that people can learn something new. Because I noticed, in Western New York, people are still doing the wobble, the Cupid shuffle, the electric slide, and I said, all right, let's learn something new. You know what I mean? It's time to learn a new line dance. And so people really gravitated to that, especially in the senior community. I was actually surprised. We created Hustle for Health for the housewives and a little bit younger, but it really took off with our senior community. And so we have a program that runs in Buffalo at the Gloria Parks Community Center. And now we're on our 7th year, and it grew to be the largest program within that entire senior program there at Gloria Parks.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, before we get out of here, the show is titled "Breaking Through the Glass Ceiling." So I have to ask you this question: when you look back over everything and you look back at your career, when would you say Jazzy T broke through the glass ceiling? When did you know, like, I'm arrived and I'm living in my purpose and I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to do?
I would say when I got to News 10 NBC, which is the NBC station here in Rochester, New York. I'm trying to find a quieter place. This is probably not as quiet. I'm probably gonna have to go back inside here. But I would definitely say a News 10 NBC because, for one, I'm a career radio host. I've been doing radio my entire life. So for them to call me literally and say, hey, we want you to come and do traffic, which was something that had never been done. Like the Channel 10 had never had a traffic reporter on camera at all. So for them to take little old me, just known for doing hip hop radio, and say, all right, you're going to be the newest member of this NBC morning show was something that, like, okay, I have arrived. My talent is being noticed, and they have confidence in me because I had to not only deliver the traffic, I also had to produce it. So I had to create the maps, I had to write the scripts, I had to write web stories for the news as well. I was an associate producer as well as a traffic reporter, and then went on to do some online entertainment type of stuff for that channel as well. And that's when I really looked at it and I said, okay, I'm doing the morning news for the number one news station here in Rochester, New York. And in the afternoon, I'm hosting the number one rated afternoon radio show in the city of Rochester. And then I'm going home and I'm providing activities for senior citizens for their health and wellness. I was like, that's it. Mic drop. And I'm raising two kids that get straight A's. I was like, that's it. I mean, I feel so accomplished.
Wow, that's amazing. Uh, Jazzy, I appreciate you taking the time out your busy schedule to come on. Before you go, can you let the people know where they can find you?
Yes, of course. So you can find me at Jazzy T on air, all social media at Jazzy T on air. And look out for Jazzcast Pros. That's a new website that I'm building. And it's under that company that I am producing podcasts for Beauty Boss Millionaire, which is hosted by Felicia Fracassi. She has successfully launched and continues to grow a location, multi-million dollar business in the beauty industry, starting with eyelash extensions. Now she does Botox, hair removal, laser hair removal, and the like. And also, I produce the Living the Front Seat Life podcast, which is centered around mental health. And that is hosted by an advocate, a peer, and a survivor. Her name is Kelly Marie, and she's out of Buffalo, New York. And both both podcasts are inspirational, they're motivational, and they are really dedicated to giving you the resources that you need to succeed. So please, if you need help, if anybody wants some ideas as far as like starting a podcast or even advertising on podcasts, and you just need some ideas, you need somebody to even voice or write a script for you, you can definitely holler at me, Jazzy T, on air.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Ladies and gentlemen, please make sure y'all give Jazzy T a follow. Like I said, one of the best follows on social media. I haven't kept up with the latest hip hop as much, but I know what's good by following her. I'm more of an old
Aw.
school person, but I can kind of stay in the know by seeing what you promote. So I appreciate you coming on.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. You did a great job.
Thank you. I made it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for this week's episode of Breaking Through Glass Ceilings. I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Miss Jazzy T as much as I did. So, folks, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Tell your friends about it. If you're bored, there's plenty of episodes on here. If this is your first time listening, that you can be inspired. I have a wealth of great people that I've had the pleasure of speaking with, and I'm excited to share them with you and share their stories. So make sure you check it out. Like I said, subscribe on all platforms. Also subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/bwatersproductions. And remember, do not let anyone set up a ceiling that you can't break through. So long, everybody. This podcast is produced by B Waters Productions, and the music is produced by the one and only Hypno Beats. That's Hypno_Beats with a Z.